744. We're doing pretty good. Got some good numbers. But all right. Let me see. What was I was talking about these bases. The whole
What about
continuity. What?
Steve? What about the Malibu beach? Like, is there an underground?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You mean you're talking about the Getty facility in Malibu? Yes, definitely has an underground.
Well,
Um,
the Malibu beach has a supposed underground like subtunnel.
oh yeah, of course. Well, that's off of like Point Magoo and Vandenberg Air Force Base. Okay. Uh, yes, if you draw a line from the Getty in Malibu to the Getty Center, and you just make that line go continuously out to the ocean and across the United States, that's basically one of your tunnels right there. Okay. And it's going to go through Vandenberg, and Vandenberg is where our so-called secret space force is. Okay, so when they talk about the big secret space force and all that, that's where it is. So when they fly one of those things, they don't take off from the surface of the ground. They go out in the water and they come out of the water. They'll go out so many miles out to sea and then they'll lift off. That's how they do it. But yeah, they use, I mean, here's the thing. There's no real such thing as anti-gravity, but what there is ion propulsion. That's all it is. It's really simple. It's positive charge on the top and negative charge on the bottom. It's like a capacitor, and the negative pushes and the positive pulls. So, obviously you put the positive on the top, it's going to pull you up, and you put the negative on the bottom, it's going to push you up. And this is how we use this technology in the B-1 bombers and things like that. That's still secret. Boeing would love nothing more than to be able to introduce that into commercial, sales, but they're not allowed to. But that technology is pretty common. It's actually how they run the elevators. The elevators that go up and down the Getty, they don't have mile-long cables. I mean, gold mines, people go, oh, you can't build a bunker a mile deep. BS. You could dig gold mines 2 miles deep. The deepest bunker is in Australia. That's the Alice, what is that? Pine Gap, I think it is. That thing's like 6 miles deep. Now, I know someone, well, I don't know the person, but I had an associate, a friend of a friend kind of a deal, who actually worked for the NSA at Pine Gap, and he was actually able to confirm some stuff. Like the Bilderbergers actually put a hit out on me a few years back, and he was able to confirm it. That was actually a cool story too. I had come up with a technology. Oh, you guys know about scalar technology? You ever heard anyone talk about that before?
Yeah.
Scalar? Yeah. Well, you've heard of like radionics and all that stuff. Anyway, the thing about scalar technology is it's limited in its range of function. Okay, it's kind of like a field. It produces a field and it alters the reality of whatever it is that's inside of this field. But they can only make the field so big, and the enemy, of course, has technology that they can use to basically shut ours down. Okay, that's one of the things they've got under the Getty. Obviously, they've got this advanced technology that we can only imagine, but they've got scalar technology down there. Hell, they can make gold out of silver down there. That's what they actually do. But anyway, I learned how to program a laser with a scalar program and to be able to actually transmit the scalar program using a laser. And for this, they put a hit out on me because this was like a very, very dangerous thing, in the hands of the wrong person. So one of those things. If I had a bunch of money, that's probably one of the things I would do. I would develop this technology a little bit. But when I was really pushing it, was right before they shut me down. Hell, I was working on free energy. I had my company, SK Industries, where I made lasers and stuff. It was about a 2,000 square foot building, but I had a lab and I had a silver setup. I talked about the silver earlier, but I was selling my services to the government actually, It was the University of Colorado, and they were doing light speed, UFO type research, and I knew that they needed this service. That's why I put it out there, and yeah, so I was selling the silver plating service, because silver. Here's a fun little tidbit for you guys. Silver is a lasing material, which means that if you expose fine pure silver to a plasma, which is plasma. If you expose the silver to a plasma, it will actually decompose and produce ultraviolet light. It's crazy. And so that's what they were doing. So this is actually how these things go light speed. They build these things out of silver. And the other big thing about silver, which is really important, is that as a building material is concerned, if you take all the different materials you could build something with, silver, steel, gold, copper, whatever. Silver has the highest resolution, meaning that silver you can build the most detailed, complex structures out of silver, and nothing else in the universe can do that. Copper, steel, whatever. So in other words, if you wanted to make a semiconductor, and you wanted to make the most complex, detailed semiconductor on Earth, you would have to use silver, because it's the only thing that you could construct things ion by ion, and that's why they use that to make these beam ships, because they're just really super complex semiconductors, but also because when you expose this material to plasma, it produces massive amounts of ultraviolet light, which is actually coherent, which means that if you have a flat piece of silver and you expose that thing to plasma within a magnetic field, the surface of the silver, the flat surface, will put out ultraviolet light perfectly perpendicular to the surface. In other words, straight out. So in other words, it'd be like a laser beam, okay? Perfectly perpendicular. And so in other words, if you take like an atomic layer, every time one atomic layer is degraded in this process, it produces just gigajoules of ultraviolet laser light. And this is how they propel these things up to the speed of light. It's like turning on a fire hose, okay? You guys know what happens when you put a fire hose between your legs and you turn it on, right? Same thing. I know. I found that out when the University of Colorado was buying my silver from me, because they told me what they were doing. So yeah, that's how you achieve light speed, is with a ship made out of silver. And guess what? Nothing goes over the speed of light. All these people that say wormholes and all that crap, that's a bunch of BS. Nothing goes over the speed of light. It's just the way it is. It's just one of those things. I could go on and on about this crazy stuff, but how long have we been? You guys want to ask some questions?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to do maybe 10 questions, 10 or 12 questions?
Yeah, as many as you want, guys. I could talk forever, man.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Dave,
Dr. Jack, did you have anything else you wanted to ask?
well, I get someone that can confirm some of the stuff Steve's saying, that if we can have that person speak.
Yeah, bring him up, man. You have the capability as co-host, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, bring him up.
Hey, can everybody hear okay? I haven't heard anybody complaining.
I could hear. I could hear you good.
And I think we got over that initial issue.
Everything's real clear.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, welcome. All rights reserved.
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Keck, Isaac's Army? Steve, good to meet you. Good to see you. And yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Dr. Keck, I just want to give you a shout out, man. I love your account, and I always send it to people when it's appropriate. But yeah, I used to work at the Getty House in San Francisco, and I used to park my car across from Nancy Pelosi's, and I've been all over Billionaires Row in that area, from the tunnels out by Michael Aquino's on the Pacific Coast Highway to, you know, the house where the Olsen twins were, you know, where Full House sitcom was filmed. And when he was talking about it, I was having a little trip down memory lane because yeah, dude, it's spot on. Like they try, because my mom died when I was a teenager. I went to go study Buddhism with a venerable Zen patriarch. So I can spot like a Ming Dynasty statue from, you know, 20, 30 yards away. I know a lot about Buddha's artwork. And that's what they do is they launder the money and the children through art and shipping containers. And Charles Schwab's daughter's husband's dad has an art museum made of shipping containers. And that's what they told me when I started working there is, you know, I had a coworker talk to me about it and I didn't really believe it at first, but after a while, the Goat Hill pizza, the girl I was dating with the pizza symbol, you know, tattooed on her with the Illuminati eye, and then I finally asked her, you know, what the fuck is that? And it all started to make sense. And yes, Steve nailed it with the Getty thing. Like that's really, and also the thing about all these agencies, CIA, FBI, NSA, it's all branches of the same tree, different names, same monster. You know, it's like an elephant. You know, it's like this is the what's an elephant? This is the tail. This is the trunk. This is the ear. All these things, but they're connected to one organism, and it's transnational criminal cartel. You know, from the depths of the Vatican to you know, London to DC to, you know, you got the Democrats in DC and the Republicans at Bohemian Grove. You know, it's like Crips and Bloods. It really is like a coast to coast thing. And then the tunnels are all over the world. And when he said the blood sacrifice, that's what the Maui fire was. You notice the the fire burning, and then they go into Israel and Palestine right after that happens. It's all connected. Like, you know, Hawaii is one of the only states with a Jewish governor. All these things, it's not coincidence. Like all of Hawaii is like Swiss cheese too. Like the whole aquifer, because it's a volcanic place, it's literally like a sponge. It's a tunnel network. And so are the hills. That's what being Shanghai is. Ever since the 49ers, 1849, San Francisco has been used to like for human traffic and opium trade. You know, like the opium business is the old money. It's the Queen's heroin trade. And yeah, dude, I've been in those places. I used to build glass tile mosaics in those houses. And yeah, dude, everything that he said makes the checklist of what people told me. And yeah, the thing about the tunnels is true. Like I've done like custom mirror um like glass shelving that's inside secret rooms that are behind a fake bookcase and stuff. And then they told me, and then I started to understand like the Masonic connection up on the hill in San Francisco, you know, with Grace Cathedral and what's the Ritz Carlton, the Catholic Church, the Mason Temple, and then what I forget the name of the big fancy hotel right on top of at the top of Mason Street in San Francisco.
St. Francis?
No, it's not. Is that St. Francis or Great? Yeah, it is St. Francis. Yeah, and then you have the big. What's the big one across the hotel? I forget the fanciest hotel on the top of Nob Hill in San Fran. You remember the name of that?
I don't.
Oh, but yeah, man, like what you're talking about is heavy and it's true. And then the off-world stuff, yeah, man, like dude, all the people that are talking about adrenochrome and stuff, ayahuasca, you know, it's like why is King Prince Harry and Marina Abramovich, all these people are doing this shit, and it has to do with, you know, it's all connected interdimensionally, you know. So
Oh, dude, I got to share a story about King Harry, a really good one, real
yeah,
quick.
what's up?
Okay. All right. Because he's been cut off from the royal family and all that, he doesn't have bunker privileges. Okay. So that's why he's out here in LA. And I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Meghan Markle was banging Gordon Getty. Did you guys hear about that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well,
They don't have a
No, I'm not
she-
surprised though.
Meghan Markle was meeting up with Gordon Getty at some Hollywood hotel. I don't know which one. It was a pretty famous, well-known story. But everybody's wondering. They're saying, "Why is this skank, banging this 80-year-old man?" Well, it's because, and then the story was, they said, "Well, why is it happening?" He says, "Because they needed his help with real estate." And it's like, well, why do you need Gordon Getty to help you with real estate? Because they want a tunnel entrance. You want access to the tunnel? You bang Gordon Getty.
So how do you think it works? Like when people are buying houses, like these billionaires that are buying houses that have tunnels already connected, like do you only get?
That's a good question. All right, Angelina Jolie sold her house recently, and we all know it had a tunnel. Or no, well, who'd she sell it to? She sold it back to a Getty. Oh yeah, that's right. Brad
Did
Pitt.
she really?
Brad Pitt did a transaction where he traded the house. He took a house that was owned by the Getty woman, one of the daughters or whatever, the one with AIDS, and they swapped houses. It was totally off the market, no inspection, nothing. They just swapped the house. So they keep it in the family, and that's why this guy Gordon had this woman, his mistress, buying up all this property. And for instance, that place that Jared Leto lives in, if you look at who owned it before Jared Leto, it was like a Getty attorney. I mean, it was all this stuff is always, if you go look at these properties, they're always will tie back to the Getty. But a lot of times, like for instance, at W.C. Fields' house, they'll have a swimming pool. They'll fill in the swimming pool. Now, that happened way back when, but I tell people, if you want to find out what house has a tunnel, look for the filled-in swimming pools. Because they get all paranoid, they're afraid a California earthquake's going to crack the pool and flood their tunnel.
Wow. How many would you guess are out there that are connected to the Getty?
Oh my gosh, I can't keep track. I tried, I've had people helping me with this, and I'm busy, like doing what we're doing right now, but I wanted to get a map of California. It's hard to even get paper maps anymore, and just put a pin in each location that we know of, and just try to figure it out. But there's bunkers all over the place. Like for me, I don't live in LA. I live a little bit east of LA. I'm in La Puente. It's kind of a ghetto. But there's another city close to me, Montebello, and I know there's a bunker under Montebello. And then there's a resort over here in La Puente. They call it Puente Hills Resort or something like that. It's got a damn bunker under it. And if you look at it, these things all have like a straight line, so there's a big tunnel down there. But a lot of people, they made comments, like for instance, one person made a comment, they said that they didn't think it was possible to build a bunker at the Getty because it used to be a landfill. They build bunkers under landfills all the time. They like doing that. Whenever you're building a bunker, a lot of times there's a lot of stuff having to get moved around. And in the case of the Getty, they moved millions of tons of dirt. I mean, it's world famous for having millions of tons of dirt moved and millions of tons of concrete poured. And another big clue is a golf course. You see these golf courses, very often the golf courses will either have a bunker under them or a bunker right next to them because they use the dirt. They got to move that stuff around. And then the other thing, you talked about Phil Schneider at the beginning of this thing. Here you go. A living, breathing man. Well, he's dead now, of course. He paid the price. But he was the geologist that actually went and built these damn things. And he describes how they did it. They dig 4 really deep tunnels. They drop nukes down there. And they drop, these nukes would blow up and make big cavities. And what people need to understand is there is a such thing as a low-yield nuke. In other words, a nuke that will blow up with all the power of a nuclear bomb, but it doesn't have the radiation, the fallout, and the radioactive signature. It's low yield. That's what they used in 9/11.
So, like in your opinion, like the Boring Company, for example, Elon Musk's, that makes tunnels, is that just like a front? Like, do they? I mean, because like obviously they would have to have way more technology than what he's offering. to.
They do. Elon, let me just, I'm kind of glad you brought that up because here's the thing. You know how we like people, we're fans of people, we think they're on our side and all that. Elon is one of those people. He's providing us, he's saved this platform, he's giving us free speech, he's doing all these things. He seems like a good guy, he seems like one of us. But at the same time, he's launching rockets from Vandenberg Air Force Base, the same place where they're launching the planes that drop the chemtrails on us, the same place where the secret space program is. So he's clearly involved in top secret, national security stuff because he's launching spy satellites. So,
well, I mean, he wants to make humans into cyborgs. I mean, whether it's for a good cause or not, like for Alzheimer's, you can make that case.
yeah.
But anytime you want to put a chip in someone's brain, it's kind of a red flag for me.
Yeah, well, again, here's the thing. We're all easily fooled. I've been fooled. I'll be the first one to admit I've been fooled in a big way, and that's why I always worry that I'm being used as a tool. Like when I was doing the laser stuff or when I was, arming, killing people. People died. Many, many people died because of the stuff I did, and I feel like today I'm kind of paying that off. But the point is that we never really know for sure what the true intentions of another human are. And I guess the best judgment, the best thing that you could use to kind of gauge that is if there's money involved. Okay, seriously.
Yeah, always follow the money.
Yeah.
Did you have another question? All rights reserved.
No, I appreciate the floor time, and it was kind of therapeutic listening to this guy speak because it's like it's something that's hung over my shoulder. It's been a burden for a long time knowing about all this, and then like accounts like yours, Isaac Army, Dr. Keck, you guys, what you do is really important. Who's the other guy? Illuminati bot. I don't know if that's your competition or whatever, but it's important to force this stuff out into the public awareness, and even if some of it is a little kooky or crazy, it gets people using that part of the brain that's been dormant for so long. People are shut up by the education system, and then they're at home watching TV, and people are not, fully using the full capacity of their brain, and it's like, I don't care if it's psyops or disinformation or not, it says disinformation is necessary like 30 times in the Q post. And another thing about that is, right out the gate, I saw my first Q post and I glanced at it, and within less than 5 seconds, I instantly knew. I go, that's a leak from the NSA. And I was glued to that thing since it came out, like the board itself, not any of the other bizarre projections or theories. But no, I appreciate what Steven's doing because the Getty, how it really is, that's the crux of it, is the Getty Museum. I know another guy that built the Getty Museum and another person that built the Denver airport, and all those buildings unanimously, they say that there was how do you say, there's the giant caterpillars, the big yellow dump trucks hauling earth out of those things 24/7 for 5 years, like the metric tonnage of earth material moved. And then also being around Mauna Kea now, I can see the telescope from my house. It's like I know the concrete during the pandemic, they were building basically like incinerators, like underground concrete bunkers at Pahakaloa, which is the base at the foothill of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Like the whole deal with the tunnel networks, they're worldwide, old world, new world. It doesn't matter from China to Turkey to Israel to France, the catacombs all over Europe, old America, new America. I mean, dude, it's real. And this stuff, I'm just glad we can actually even speaking about it is nice. I'm just like, holy cow, I never thought, asked me 6 months ago if I thought I would be on a Twitter space talking about, what what is that, remote viewing in different dimensions and this stuff. It's like it's mind blowing how quickly this information is getting out there. And just, stick together, stay positive, and yeah, I'm just, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that is
I'm
the
just blessed.
double-edged sword with Elon Musk. It's like there's those nefarious things, but he also has given us this right here where we're able to talk about it, like you said, which is absolutely huge.
Yeah, true. So with that, I yield, and yeah, I'm gonna step back to listening. But yeah, man, when he was speaking, I was like, bingo, yep, he knows, right there, yes. And yeah, the head of the CIA, all that shit down in Monterey, California, the Panetta Institute, it's all like he said, man, it's all connected. You see the head of the CIA and all these different spooks, and then they're meeting, and yucking it up with like Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein and all Gavin Newsom and all these people, dude, and they laugh, dude. They laugh. I've heard 4-star generals just sit there and laugh about doing cocaine and fucking underage girls, and it's just like I was shocked, man. That was really toward the end when I really started to see the depravity. Is when I because I was in denial about it, I guess, for a minute. I was like, no. And then I was like, no, dude, you need to get the fuck out of here for your soul, dude. You need to leave all this. And then later on is when, I had friends contacted me even after I moved away to tell me stuff. They're like, dude, you were not crazy. So it's nice getting validation and seeing. I just hope the victims and the people that are really, I don't like this to be looked at as like trivialized as like entertainment. I want to see some real remedy and change and accountability for these people. Ultimately, is the accountability is what's big for me, and getting victims of this type of stuff healed and back on their feet so they can live somewhat of a normal life. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming on and speaking.
I want to talk about this accountability business here a little bit, because this is kind of a big issue, and I know this is something that a lot of people that are aware of the human trafficking and the horrors of all this, they don't agree on, and I know they don't agree with me on this. But here's the thing, like I was trying to say earlier about us being savages and all that, is that they expect us to attack them. They have always expected us to rise up pitchfork in hand, so to speak, and storm the Bastille, if you will. That's what they built these bunkers for, to keep us out, and their plan is to blow the thing up. And the only way, I mean, I know this is going to sound nuts, but the only way we're going to defeat these people and get these things to be opened up, and to get the children released, and to get that activity to stop, and to get all that money back and all that technology, and get our investment back, that equity down there belongs to us. The only way that's going to happen is if we promise not to kill them, basically. You see, because they think that we're too stupid to control the world. They think that we're too savage and inhumane to handle the technology, because the technology itself, like when I said I came up with that, programming a laser thing with the scalar stuff, they don't want average people to have the ability to use scalar technology, because essentially it alters reality. And if what are we going to do? Use it for weapons? We're going to kill each other with it? This is what we'll do, because yes, they have a big hand in the monster that they created. Us being, a bunch of savage, greedy bastards. But that has to change. So in other words, before they're ever going to open the door and give up, we have to show them that, A, we're not going to give up, and we're not going to comply with them, and we're going to shut everything down on the surface until they basically give up. But we also have to show them we're going to not be like them. We're not going to be a bunch of bloody Satanists and cut their heads off and make them pay for what they did. That's what they do. We have to treat them like family, because these people, these horrible, horrible Satanists that are down there doing these horrible things, they know that they can't even consider themselves part of the human family anymore. And they would do anything to be able to give that back, but they just know that if they ever had to answer for what they've done, that they'd get what they deserve. And this is one of the reasons why they will burn the house down, sink the boat, nuke everybody in order to delay that from happening. They're going to do anything they can to keep us from gaining access to their bunker and making them pay. So we're not going to go storming in there. The only way that door is ever going to get opened and we're ever going to get everything back intact is if we make sure that we can become advanced humans and we can go down there and suck it up and not start killing everybody down there once we see what they've been doing. Because that's, two things are going to happen. When that Getty gets opened up and people really see what's going on and the truth comes out, a lot of people are they're going to go catatonic. They're going to fall on the ground and suck on their thumb and get into a fetal position, and their whole world is going to crumble and they're not going to know what to do. Some of us are going to be prepared and we'll be in leadership positions. But the other thing is that we also have to be strong enough to control those people that are going to be so enraged by what they see that they're going to want to go berserker and kill everything down there. And this is exactly what we have to not do, because otherwise they're never going to give up. They're never going to release those hostages. They're never going to release those children. They're never going to give back all that money they stole. And they're never going to trust us with that technology. And we need that technology. You know, we need to clean up the Pacific Ocean. We need to fix Fukushima. We need to get rid of all the COVID. We need to fix everybody that's got the damn COVID and all that crap done. We need to fix everybody's DNA. We need to do all these incredible things that you can't do with normal technology, which they have down there. You know, the one thing I haven't heard you guys mention tonight is Atlantis. That was the previous epoch. And if you go back far enough, 10, 20,000 years, you're going to be in that epoch. There's Atlantean stuff down there. There's Atlantean tunnels down there still. There's Atlantean technology. All this crystal stuff, that's Atlantis stuff. You know, you hear them talking about Mars and different stuff. Yes, that all goes back that far. And these entities, you know, like the Jews and the Nazis, that goes back that far too. You know, these rivalries that we see on Earth today, these are very, very ancient rivalries that go beyond written history. But anyway, like I said, though, bottom line is the only way we're going to end this stuff and actually have paradise on Earth is if somehow, carrot or stick, either way, we can somehow mature and we can learn to be service to other types of people and not selfish, and we can learn that by you can have if everybody woke up and said, what can I do for the world today instead of what can I do to make a buck, we'd all be rich. We'd all be living in paradise, because there is that much down there. There's 98%, well, let me put it this way. If you took all the wealth in the world, everything, all the money in the world, gold included, that would only represent about 2% of the wealth that's already down there underground in these bunkers like what's in the Getty. Okay, so it's like when people say blow that shit up, are you kidding me? It's filled with gold. It's not just filled with innocent children that are being tortured, but it's also filled with gold. It's filled with ancient secrets and technology that we need to advance, to move into this. You want your Nasara, your Jasara? That's where it is. Okay, because if you read the protocols, it says right there that they will throw their own guys under the bus and they will bring back their Antichrist and they will make you think that it's a whole new deal and they're going to give you a little bit of money. It's going to be way much more money than you had before, but it's only going to be a tiny little bit of what they've stolen. And that's what they call Nasara. The real Nasara is when we occupy the Getty and when we release all that wealth, because even though it's only one base, they're all going to fall like dominoes. Every base is connected to another base. And once we get, in other words, we're not going to go down there and fight tooth and nail, you know, hand-to-hand combat underground. No way. We're not going to conquer one base and then go conquer the next base and do that forever. No. The only way this is going to work is if humanity changes and we convince these guys to give up. And the only way that's going to happen is if we convince them that we're not going to kill them. We need to put them in FEMA camps. We need to lock them up. We need to make sure that they never molest or touch another child or reproduce and don't get to talk to anybody. They got to be in solitary. but we're not going to cut their heads off. We have to treat them like humans, and we have to treat them like family, just like we all have to treat each other like family. And once we learn how to do that, we can do all these things. But that's really what this is all about. So yeah, it's all about metaphysical stuff.
Well, yeah, it's crazy that, you know, you bring that point of like doing it peacefully, because like the first thought of mine is savage, like you said, is to go down there, you know, kick the doors down and rip everybody out of there. That, you know, that's my first thought, primal thought, you know.
That's what I thought.
Well, the problem that happens, I mean, which we've seen with Pizzagate, and you know, the issue is you have these people that go out there. Whether, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if, you know, a government, CIA, whatever, does a false flag down there. But
Yeah.
that's the problem. Is like the more that people go against the grain and you know, be the, you know, lone superhero and goes out there and does things on their own, the more it stagnates the rest of everything. So, you know, we have to do things as a team and you know, try to share the information and get it out there.
Well, you guys got to get angry about it. Everyone's got to get angry about it. You know, what did Michael Flynn say? He said we're in a war of narratives. That's what he said. This is a war of narratives. And what do they do? They put out all these different narratives going in all these directions, I only have one narrative, and that is Occupy the Getty. And I have one enemy, and that is the cavers under the Getty. And who's the good guys? The good guys are us. You know, but I'll say one more thing, and this is kind of important because, you know, we talk about this psychic stuff and all that. Satanism. You know, when these guys sacrifice these children and they do all these rituals, they're doing that because they believe that Satan benefits from this, and that Satan will give them benefits and give them powers and do all these things. They truly believe that, whether you believe that or not. And you could say they truly are getting something as a result of what they're doing. But here's the thing. So what does that mean? That means that these humans are in fear of these other entities, these demons, these Satan. It's like we should have a healthy fear of God. They have a healthy fear of their God, which of course is Satan. Now, so what do? Do we fight the humans? No, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but we do, what do? We wrestle against the powers, the dark powers. You know that, Ecclesiastics. Anyway, so what do? Way back about 4 or 5 years ago, my little gang of Jedi actually did a mission, and this was something I was totally not even in. I mean, I was involved, but I didn't control it. I didn't have any control over it. But we went on an astral mission, a whole bunch of us, and we went down there and slaughtered their so-called Nazi psychics one night, and they haven't been the same since. And and I'll tell you, they are so afraid of me, these guys. The Satanists, they're afraid of me, and they believe this stuff. So the point is that if you want to get these humans to give up, you're going to have to be stronger than the thing that they're afraid of, which is their master, which is Satan. And that's what we do. We battle demons. And you know what? There's these demons. What are they? They're Draco. They're Draco. You know, and you know what? There's a limited number of these Draco out there. They're not unlimited. There's something like 250 million of them out there. We kill these things. Okay? So when you see changes in the universe, and you know these Draco, they need loosh. They consume loosh. And what is loosh? Loosh is like adrenochrome, only it's psychic adrenochrome. It's negative human emotional psychic energy. So when they're down there collecting this loosh for the humans, they're also collecting, or the adrenochrome, they're also collecting the loosh, which is food for the Draco. And that stuff, you think adrenochrome is valuable, loosh is way more valuable. And we shut down, when we go down there and do our little Jedi battles, we don't just slay, we also shut down loosh production. We can't do anything for the human victims that are down there because they're in a whole nother density. We're running around in the 4D, they're in the 3D, but we can shut down the loosh collection because that's, here comes the AI, is being collected by AI. And why AI? Because AI is basically a sentient life form that doesn't have a soul and can operate on multiple different levels of density. Aha! So it can actually interact with 4D and 3D at the same time, and they use the AI to collect the loosh and funnel it to these, Draco, whatever the hell they are, which are basically demons.
Yeah, so basically, what I understand the loosh is energies that they're shooting out to the world in negative ways and
Well, they make the
creating.
loosh that way.
Yeah,
Okay, so like when they put out the bad news or the horror flicks, or they make people hate each other, or
generating it, right?
yeah, that broken heart, whatever, that's loosh. Okay,
Okay.
loosh is the opposite of love. Okay, you want to know how to kill them? You send them love. They hate that. But
So you want to take some more questions?
yeah, sure.
Yes.
You know what? I want to run ahead really quick. Can I do that? I'll stick around, but you gotta let me do that. Is that cool?
Yeah.
You guys go chat for a minute. I'll mute. I'll be right back.
Okay, sure.
Whoa. Well, let me mute.
Hi, Casey. How you doing? Casey's here.
We'll bring Casey up. Yeah, it's very interesting conversation so far, huh, Dr. Keck?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. What we do is we connect dots. I mean, a conspiracy is a conspiracy, but if you can keep on connecting these dots, there's more reality to it. But
No.
there's so many people that came around, and I was speaking to, before this whole entire thing, we were trying to talk about, the people that were involved, but there was more people that were actually, I just can't think of the exact name of there was Allie Carter that was a witness to all this stuff, but there was someone else I couldn't remember who it was.
So if you guys know the victim's name, put it in the comment section, and then John, if you can find that and relay that would be awesome.
Casey, she's been in the Hollywood area. How you doing, Casey? It's been a while since I've talked to you.
I know, I've missed you, Dr. Keck. I wanted to ask a couple of questions because I've been providing free support to survivors of sexual trauma for 29 years. So I have counseled a lot of people who worked for Hugh Hefner in Playboy Mansion, and also the mini mansions that are throughout Los Angeles, including the Getty Museum and what's under there. And it's really throughout. It's not just the Getty, it's everywhere. The tunneling systems are, it's so mind-boggling that people, I was recently interviewed and somebody said, they're just kind of coming into the realization about the satanic elements. So those, if you don't know me, was trafficked as a child by my own mother, who was a Hollywood starlet. And my brother has been a professional comedian for 39 years, Emery, and my mom was Darlene Emery. And he edited The Aristocrats in 2005. He was good friends with George Carlin, and he openly worshipped Satan. And we both actually became born again Christians in 1979. But what he was talking about the loosh is exactly why they pull off horrible things like 9/11. They wanted the whole world watching people jumping from those buildings so that we would all express our horror together. So while they've, got their insurance money and pulled that off and convinced everybody, they also wanted to go over to the Middle East and essentially take over the poppy fields and set up the poppy fields over there in Afghanistan for 20 years. Oh, that war just never ended for 20 years because our CIA was growing poppies that they were selling to our children. So when he said that there's money involved, one of the things that I learned, I've been in business for 27 years, I'm an actuary. So the work that I do with sexual trauma victims is all volunteer. It's 100% free. But for my job, my real job, is I audit these 501c3s and 501c4s and I've been watching BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Berkshire Hathaway, Google buy up all these mom and pop industries, Amazon, which was part of the communist takedown, which is communism is Satanism. And so whenever I come in a room, people know that I'm going to talk about satanic Hollywood, but I want everyone to understand that it's not about the money. They have more money than they could ever want. In fact, all they need to do is take money from us. They want to keep us broke. They want to keep us struggling so that they can collect more loosh. So they create the society so that we're always scrambling just to survive and make a living. And that enables them to collect more loosh. And as you guys were speaking of, with they control. So in 1920, they brought over Polish Jews, which are actually fake Jews that came straight out of Ukraine, Russia, and emigrated hiding. We brought the 1600 scientists over in Operation Paperclip, but a lot of the other Nazis there, they had to disappear. So they disappeared into Romania, Croatia, Moldavia, and Russia. So you hear the term Russian bride. For 29 years, I've been helping a lot of women that were trafficked right out of those areas, Romania, Croatia, Moldavia, and Russia, but also Central America, Panama, and Honduras in particular. And it's just like a constant cycle. Like these little girls are groomed and told that they're going to come to America and they're going to marry a rich man, and then they end up having babies with them, or they bring their babies and they end up getting trafficked, and they traffic themselves. And one of the things that happened recently is that I interviewed the third person that was a labor trafficker right here in Newport Beach, California. So back in December 2022 to March 2023, we had massive rain that was just record rain. So it was obviously manipulated. And Scott McKay and I were talking about the fact that the Newport Beach PhD is what he has coined the phrase that they were scientifically creating this fungi for this disease X, we think. So I interviewed the third person last Friday who said that they're working to scrape up. They definitely had killed hundreds or 60 dolphins and hundreds of sea lions. And so then as soon as it became known that this algae was super toxic, was killing mammals, then they're like, oh, it's time to cultivate it, bring it in. And so down here on the beaches, it's all sand. So we don't have any, they're not spraying pesticides or anything like that, but they scraped up all this algae. So we think that they're getting ready to deploy that in the chemtrails because it's a fungus, and used with 5G, they can bring a lot of people into extreme sickness. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on right now. But I just wanted to come in and say that they don't need our money. We've been playing Monopoly with the people who print Monopoly money forever. It's all about a cash flow problem. And as long as, if you've got a mansion and you can't sell it, you can't liquefy that asset, then they go out and they create that cash flow by finding these people that are willing to do their bidding. And Hollywood is full of them. They target Hollywood. In fact, it was established, and they know that they came over, the fake Khazarian Jews that came over as Polish Jews from Poland, immigrated to Manhattan, and then they went to Hollywood, California, and Hollywood, Florida, and established these 6 major motion picture industries that we have still to this day, with the sole purpose of creating all this violence and death and destruction to collect our loosh, but to also bring down the moral fiber of humanity, to just bring us into this abject anxiety and depression that our young people are experiencing, in addition to all of the parasitic poisonings that we're experiencing as well. So I'll land my plane there. I've chatted enough, but it's really good to be here. And I'm just really interested in hearing more about what's going on with these children now. And from what I've heard in my intel, most of these children are really not retrievable. They've taken them into med bed situations to try to help their own stem cells renew them. But there's a lot of them have never even seen the light of day.
Thank you, Casey. Always great hearing you.
I'm back, guys. She's right. They don't need our money. They have. We don't have anything. All the money on the surface of the earth is nothing compared to what they have. But they want to keep you fighting for your job and fighting for everything so that you won't do what we're doing right now, because they can dox you and get you in trouble, right? Hey, guys, you want to talk about the tunnel Jews real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to hear your opinion on that, on all that.
All right, well, here's the thing. and I'm not, I'm not Nazi by any means or anti-Semitic. I hate that word. It's so stupid. But I'll just say this first of all: 2% of the world is Jewish. 2% of all the population of the world, roughly 2%. And of all those people that consider themselves Jewish, roughly 2% of those people are Chabad Lubavitch, the so-called guys over there in New York doing the tunneling. And those are the guys that are the problem. I know that a lot of the reform, whatever, you could say that, maybe it's a bandwagon type thing. But the bottom line is like saying that all Jews are doing this is like saying that all Germans are Nazis. It's not true. There are a bunch of Satanists who are basically Pharisees or people that can trace their lineage back to Solomon and possibly even further back to Nimrod. And these are the bad guys. These are the baby screwers. These are the ones that are doing the most depraved things. They're the ones digging the tunnels. But they're also the ones that are trying to start World War III right now. And basically, these are the guys that are doing the COVID. These are guys that are doing all that. We got to talk about bacteriophages. She's talking about the bacteria. I got to talk about that. But in Ukraine, the basis of when the Khazars were run out of Russia, before there was a Russia, it was Khazaria. When they got run out, they basically, a whole bunch of them ended up in the Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, those Baltic countries. But they basically, a bunch of them made it back into Ukraine and Kiev. And those are the Chabad types. Those are the fake, basically, this goes back to Jacob Frank and the fake Messiah. And Jacob Frank and Simon Weishaupt and Meyer Amschel Rothschild got together and started the Illuminati. That's all back in 1777 or something of this nature. Before that, the Masons weren't even corrupt. They had to take over the Masons and corrupt the Masons. But the point is that those guys with the black hats and the curly sideburns, the ones from Ukraine, the ones that are causing this war that we're throwing everything away on to Project Ukraine, it's because of those guys. They want Russia destroyed because they want Russia back. It's because Russia is Khazaria and they want greater Khazaria, and that's what's going on. And they are the Khazar Mafia, and they are the guys that won the mafia wars, and that is the international mafia. That is Intertel. That is Jeffrey Epstein. That's Mossad, the CIA, the Italian mafia, the Colombian mafia, Chinese mafia, everything. The bosses of all the world mafia are those guys with the black hats. And let me say this, and this is important because you have to understand how these guys work. But when Hitler came to power, one of the first things he did was take the great Rebbe over there in Ukraine, the guy that was the head of the Khazar Mafia and the Chabad, cult, and he shipped him out of the country for his safety because this was before all this Holocaust stuff, and he ended up in Brighton Beach. So when she's talking about these guys that ended up in Brooklyn and all that stuff, that's how it happened, okay? Now, I know this happened well before Hitler. Sure, there was a strong Jewish presence in the United States, but it wasn't completely Zionist, okay? So the satanic stuff, it didn't really hit the shores until Hitler sent them over there. Now, why would Hitler spare the Rebbe? Because the Chabad created the Nazis, because Zionism is also called social Zionism, and Nazism is called National Socialism. It's the same thing. Nationalism, Zionism basically mean the same thing. Zionism is another word for nationalism. So you guys, like I said, they create their own monsters. So the Jews that were killed in the Holocaust were the ones that thought that Judaism was a religion and not a national identity. Okay? And that's why when they went and shipped all those people to Palestine, the ones they shipped over there were Zionists who thought that being Jewish meant you were a national of Israel. Okay, big difference. So that war that we're fighting today, the war that Putin is fighting right now in Ukraine, it's all over this. And I'll tell you something else. All these sanctions and all this money that's been confiscated from these billionaires and what have you, these so-called oligarchs, every single one of those oligarchs is a Chabad Jew, is part of this mafia. So there's like there's like 1,000 billionaires in Russia, and almost every single one of them is a Chabad Jew. So by taking this money, by confiscating Abramovich's yacht and Chelsea football field or whatever, all this money that they've taken in these sanctions, they've crippled Chabad. That was all Chabad money. So this is pretty crazy. But I'll tell you, Chabad and the Pharisees are the same people that opened the gates and let the Babylonians in. They're the same people that opened the gates and let the Romans in to destroy the temple both times. They were a fifth column in Israel, and they're a fifth column in our country right now, and they're trying to throw away all our money on this crap with Zelensky so that when the time comes to fight China, we're going to be screwed. We can't even make enough shells to feed Zelensky 155 millimeter shells. We're screwed. We can't. What are we going to do? We're going to get illegal aliens to fight in our army. We're going to get all these transgenders. Hello. We don't, in Russia, hundreds of thousands of people are signing up to join their military. We sure as hell can't do that in this country. How the hell are we going to fight? But you know what we can do? We can nuke. And that's why we have to occupy the Getty, because otherwise these bastards are going to throw us into nuclear war just to hide their crimes. They want us dead, one way or the other. This is much more than just saving children. This is saving all of us. This is saving the earth. We got to do this before Biden can start launching nukes and attacking Iran and everything else. This is important stuff. You know, I'll tell you something, and this is probably not a coincidence, but the day I got back on Twitter was the same day that Hamas attacked Israel. We got to have some questions, huh?
Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the date that Adam Weishaupt established the Illuminati was May 1st, 1776. That's why they call it Area 51. So you've got Harry S. Truman, who bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki so that he could create all of this loosh from the hundreds of thousands of innocent souls that died. And Harry S. Truman was from Independence, Missouri. I was a goddaughter of the Kansas City Mafia, and they controlled Kansas City, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Las Vegas. And I was betrothed to the Sevilla family, the head of the Sevilla family's son. Throughout my life, my mother, as I mentioned, was a Hollywood starlet, and she trafficked me to the rich and famous. And so the only time of my life where I was not being molested and raped throughout my childhood is when I was a mafia goddaughter. They protected me. So for 4.5 years, I had the protection of these individuals because the Italian mafia, the one thing that they would not do, they recognized that we had a completely corrupt government. And they knew that they were involved in Satanism. There were certain bloodlines that raped children, and they've always known that. So the mafias were established to combat the corrupt governments. So it's really bizarre that these mafia families, the one thing that never happened to me inside the mafia family was I was never touched. I was always protected. And even the men within those families, they didn't look at me like a piece of meat like other men did, because I was dressed up like a hooker throughout my childhood. They saw me as a child of God, and they saw their mission as to protect me. But he's correct about the bloodlines. So Epstein is specifically what he was doing was furthering his bloodline. So within these 13 royal bloodlines, they do intermarry to protect their bloodlines. And that's why most of Hollywood are like third, fifth, fourth, fifth cousins of each other and related, and they're raising each other's children because they keep those bloodlines in the family. But there's a secondary agenda with the bloodline, and that is to further the bloodline with other individuals so that they can create children that can be expendables. That's what they're called. So they're looking specifically. So I was a singer, a dancer. I had this unique eye condition like Madeline Kahn called central heterochromia. Only 1% of the population has this eye condition. So I was really heavily targeted by the mafia and then by the Satanists. So what he was talking about is very specific in that they're not Jews. They're the people. So when we brought in the people from the scientists, there were a number of other Ashkenazi Jews that had to disperse, and that's why they ran and hid and they pretended to be Jews. So they're not real Jews, and so that's why it's not. We always have to say this because I married a Polish Jew. So, but at the same time, a lot of these Jews, they set up Ancestry.com and 23andMe so that they could track our genetics, and we turned that on them. So I was working with Robert David Silva over a period of about 15 years when he used to say, we have it all, make the deal, mother effers. And then they killed him during COVID. So we still have it all. We still turned all of that information on them. We still have their genetics. And that's how we determined that they were hybridizing their own bloodlines. They were in these underground military bases. They're actually splicing. So that's why they set up these Planned Parenthoods on every street corner, because they use those stem cells for in vitro fertilization and for the hybridization of literally every creature on Earth. So when they noticed that they needed to be more ruthless, they add a little wolf DNA and things like that to their own children. These people are truly animals. So these particular bloodlines are more predisposed to receiving the splicing of these genetic materials. And as a result of that, they truly are hybridized humans. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the fact that the governments, Hollywood, and all of the people that we look up to throughout our societies, and that includes heads of corporations at this point, because now they've got this full corporatocracy that was able to push the bioweapon on us, even though it was emergency use authorization. So the corporatocracy is now, they control the common stock of all of these entities that they've purchased. And so they've injected all these people with this bioweapon, but the bioweapon is also full of 17 to 19 different prions. And those are proteins that are folded over from other creatures. So when your body identifies this foreign prion, then it kicks in your immune system and causes a cytokine storm. So that's why COVID wasn't a real virus. It was actually a poisoning. So I was patient 0 in Newport Beach, California, and I almost died of COVID because I'm a heart patient. At that time, I was diagnosed heart failure patient, which I have resolved on my own by deparasiting over a period of 3.5 years. But these people are heavily parasited. So if you want to know what satanic demon possession is, it's a parasite infestation, because they've so hybridized themselves with the genetic material of other animals in order to make themselves. I'm sorry.
Don't mean to cut you off, Casey, but just kind of wrap your point up here, and we got to get on to a couple more questions just because we're on a little bit of a time strain.
Okay, yeah, sure. I was just saying that the hybridization of their bloodlines is how they've become such heartless, demonic individuals. Their pineal gland has been totally calcified, and some of these parasites actually consume the pineal gland, which is the third eye, and that's how we're connected to our souls. So I'll land my plane there.
I totally agree. Great points there. A lot of great points you made there. Zadie, if you want to go ahead, if you have a question for Stephen, go ahead and shoot.
I was just listening in the audience. Just want to say, conspiratorial Jew hatred is my favorite form of Jew hatred. Heard some wild theories. Stephen being one of them, saying something about Chabad and mentioning that 1,000 billionaires in Russia are Chabad. Stephen, do you have any evidence to substantiate that claim, or the people on Twitter Spaces just say whatever they want?
Yeah, actually I do. But you know what? I have a document here right next to me. In fact, I'm reaching for it right now. My research on this subject, let me see, it's about an inch thick. Okay? Would you like me to name some names? I've got the names here. I've got like 1,000 names. Let me give you some details. I'll tell you how detailed it is. I could only find one billionaire that was not Chabad, okay? And you know what she was? She was an Indian woman that married a Chabad dude that died. They got all this money, okay? But yeah, you know, I'll tell you, I did a show a while back. It's called Felix Sater, aka Moshe Bond, and it's actually a 3.5 hour show, and I kind of go through the entire world mafia, you know, one by one. Trust me, it takes a lot of work to do this. I mean, trust me, I've got piles and piles of notes here. I figure I'd probably turn
About
it
an
into
inch thick.
about an inch
I think
thick.
you
I'm holding
mentioned
it
that.
right now. It's about an inch thick of paper.
I guess it's all
Felix
about
Sater.
perspective. You know, 1 inch could be thick to some, not so thick to others.
Yeah, it's
all about
well, let me see.
perspective.
It's thicker than my thumb. About as thick as this thumb, yeah. Anyway, oh my gosh, so that's why when I hear people talking about some of the recent politics, I kind of got a snicker because, you know, it's so complex.
But you still haven't given one piece of evidence. I asked you for something specific. You
Well,
told me
okay, evidence. Let me see.
you have an inch worth of paper.
Yes,
I got a question
all
for you,
right, let me
Stephen.
start the first page. Google Bayrock Group LLC. Okay. Let's see. That particular thing was mentioned over 1,000 times in the Mueller report. Let's see what else. Oh gosh, Michael Cohen. Let me just open up this thing. I'm only looking at the first page here. Okay, what do you want? Let me just find some names of some guys.
Let's say this. Let's say hypothetically.
Okay,
right?
pick a name. Okay, all right. Here, how about Steve Wynn? I'll pick Steve Wynn. Let's see. What's Steve? Steve Wynn. Okay, he's a famous Chabad mobster. You guys know Steve Wynn, right?
Yes, of course.
The Mirage Casino. You
Steve
know,
Wynn-
how about Sheldon Adelson? You remember Sheldon Adelson, right? He just died recently
Yes.
and left all his money to his wife. Anyway, let's see. Steve Wynn. What can I tell you about him? Steve Wynn, a.k.a. Steve Weinberg. Let me see. What would you like to know?
But the funny thing is, you mentioned black hats and the ones that wear pacing, those curly hairs on the side, and neither of those have any correlation, nor were either of those orthodox, right? Chabad
Oh,
was
I know. I'll
orthodox.
give you a good one. How about the new guy that took over? Let me see. What was it?
It's funny you mentioned Chabad, and then you mentioned a bunch of secular Jews that are
Yeah, the secular Jews are the good guys. You know, the Jews are the best Jews are the Sephardic. I like the guys that went to Spain. You know, the Sephardic Jews. I'll tell you, the reason why they're so cool is because when they were in Spain during the time of King David, they never went to Babylon, they never went to Assyria, they never got corrupted with the Babylonian Talmud and all that bullshit.
They literally adhere to the same laws we adhere to. You talking
only
nonsense.
because they're forced to, because the
nobody's
Pharisees
forced to do
are
anything.
the Pharisees are.
This is the problem.
You know what? I'll tell you what the Jews. I'll ask any Jew this.
You know
any
nothing
Jew
of
that knows
Jews.
Jewish history.
You're talking
Listen,
You're
why
talking
don't
at
you
your ass.
admit that
You
it
know
was
nothing
the
of Jews.
Pharisees? Why don't you admit it was the Pharisees that opened the doors and let the Babylonians in? Why don't you admit it was the Pharisees that opened the doors and let the Romans in? You know what? Let's talk about King Solomon. Any good Jew knows that King Solomon harnessed evil and harnessed demons. Come on.
You
what do think
determine what's a good Jew, you peasant.
Dude.
What do you know about good Jews?
I don't even want to deal with this guy. Just get him rid of him
Yeah,
because I don't need the Jew trolls.
We can't
Get
be
the Jew troll out,
civil
you know.
here. We gotta go.
Isaac, I got one question. If I could ask
you're
one
not
question.
asking questions. You're just being a Jew
You're not
troll.
giving me a concise. You're not giving me a concise
you know
answer.
what? Your opinion on what I'm giving you is your opinion. It doesn't mean anything. Okay.
All right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
whatever. That's an opinion, and that's his opinion. He can have it.
Yeah. He can decide whether or not he's satisfied. It's like people that say, I want proof. You know what? It doesn't matter how much proof you put in front of their face. They're going to say, oh, that's not proof. You know what?
Yeah.
That's like opinions. Everyone has assholes. Everyone has opinions. Keep it to yourself. I'm just trying to save the world. You could take your shit. You know what? That's why I say open up the Getty and let everyone see the little black hats and the little Satanism and all that. And you can figure it all out because we all know who's down there. You know, I got so tired because I know this girl. She's a Sephardic Jew, like I said. And she said, Jew hatred, Jew hatred. I'm like, oh, well, you know what? Again, you want to know what's under the Getty? Hell, you saw it in New York. You saw the soiled mattresses and you saw all that crap. You know what they're doing down there with the baby wipes and the diapers and the pee rags and everything else they had down there. Come on.
Yeah, I mean that
not
was.
stupid.
What do you need to? I mean, yeah, that was.
Yeah, they had no excuse for that. But what did they do almost immediately? They filled it up with cement. And
Yeah,
we
that's-
don't talk about it. And even, you know, here's another thing. We're talking about Elon Musk and who he's really working for. But, you know, when that story came out in Brooklyn, that got shut down almost immediately. But you know what we got every day? Hamas is ISIS. Stand with Israel. We got, every day you got the same damn thing. You got polarizing crap, and it's like somebody pointed out. Mia Khalifa got harassed at the airport, and everybody wanted to pick on Mia Khalifa. Twitter let that run amok, but when you mention that Pornhub is owned by a rabbi, they removed that. When I first got on Twitter,
Absolutely, I posted that and instantly got demonetized.
Exactly.
And got instantly.
So who's working for who? If you post a picture of chemtrails on Twitter, you're going to immediately get hit with somebody from Britain that says these are contrails. It's like, really? Really? What's up, Elon? What's up? I thought we were supposed to have free speech here. Obviously, it's BS. And when the whole tunnel thing went down in Brooklyn, what do we got? We got nothing less than the head of Chabad, Lubavitch, coming in there and making excuses and saying, oh, what you saw was not what you think you saw, blah, blah, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. It's like, really? How you doth protesteth too much. How the guilty whine when you point out the truth. It's no difference with this guy, and prove it, prove it, prove it. You know what? It's tough shit. And I don't need to prove it because that's why.
I mean, honestly, he can go look all that stuff up.
It's all out there. It's all out there.
It's all out there.
Yeah.
Most of it,
It's funny. It's like these, I'll tell you something. When in Russia, when they had the whole business during the Reagan era with the tear down that wall and Gorbachev and all that crap, the whole purpose of that was so that all those so-called Jews that needed to get out of the country, that was mafia. That was so that the mafia could get out and run amok. And when the Soviet Union crashed and all the assets were sold for pennies on the dollar, who do you think bought that stuff? Those are the oligarchs. Those are the Chabad people. And I'll tell you something. Putin has made Chabad the number one Jewish group in Russia. And Russia, at least especially the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, used to have 45% of all the Jews in the world lived in the former Soviet Union. Now that's saying something. Now, what I wanted to say, I was talking about this Javier Milei guy that took over the premiership over in Argentina. That guy's an absolute clown. He claimed to be an anti-communist.
I agree 100% with you on this
He
one.
claims to be anti-socialist and anti-communist, and at the same time, he embraces Chabad, the very same people that created Zionism and Bolshevism. So it's like, what? And then he says, and this is where you really know it's true, he says that he doesn't believe Christianity, he doesn't believe this, doesn't believe in that, but what he does have faith in is the mafia, because the mafia always follows their word. They always follow through. They get things done. He said he'd rather be with the mafia than being with a righteous people. And so what does he do? He goes and says he wants to be, this is a guy that was raised Catholic supposedly, and what does he do? He throws his weight in with Chabad. He's Chabad. He was at the damn Tunnel Jew synagogue in November. He went and prayed at the grave of Rebbe Schneerson, who was the head Rebbe of the Chabad Lubavitch in New York, the same guy that told Netanyahu, a younger Netanyahu, what was he doing because he wasn't bringing back the Antichrist fast enough. I mean, come on. These guys are serious about this crap, and it's like it's just a mafia hiding behind the Jewish religion. So when you get some idiot that's like a Reformed Jew or whatever, and he wants to defend Chabad, really? That's like a cow trying to defend a slaughterhouse. It's insane. But you know what? It's just like I said. Any Jew.
Well, it's kind of like the cat. I'm a born Catholic, raised Catholic, but I can't defend the atrocities that the Catholic Church hides and all that sexual shit that's gone on. So
we have to talk about Solomon, okay, King Solomon. Now, this isn't really in our Bible, but it's in their Bible. And, Solomon came after David, right? The whole kingdom of Israel only lasted 2.5 generations. It started with David and it ended under the sons of Solomon. But that's it. Okay? But when Solomon became king, he found a way to trap souls and to basically make demons do his bidding. Now, if you ask me, that is the same satanic BS that we're dealing with under the Getty today. It's the same thing. It's the same demons. It's the same soul capturing. It's the same blood rituals. And Solomon had many, many wives. And they came from Babylon. They came from Phoenicia. They came from everywhere. And he practiced in the religion of every single one of those wives. And that included human sacrifice, blood rituals, and worshiping Moloch. Of course, King Solomon worshiped Moloch. But those people in the north, when King Solomon died, all that power that he had from demons was lost, because those demons were not beholden unto his sons the way they were beholden unto Solomon. And that kingdom of Israel split in two under both of the sons, Jeroboam and Rehoboam. And that country was defeated because each one of those sons one was defeated by Babylon and one was defeated by Assyria. And the Babylonians ones, they spent 250 years in Babylon. That's where they developed the Babylonian Talmud. That was all Moloch, damn satanic crap. And they brought that back with them in there. And here's the thing. There were three sects of rabbis: the Essenes, the Sadducees, and the Pharisees. And the Sadducees and the Essenes used a temple. The Pharisees did not. And so that means when they were in Babylon for 250 years, there was no temple. So that means the Sadducees and the Essenes went away. And it was the Essenes that wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they hid it from the Babylonians, not the Romans. You know, they'll try to tell you that the Dead Sea Scrolls were being hid by the Romans. No, the Essenes were gone by the time the Romans came. The Essenes hid it from the Babylonians, who conquered the country because the fifth column Pharisees opened the doors and let them in. They keep doing that shit, just like they did during the Holocaust when they allowed all those other Jews to die. It's the same thing they did when they allowed the Babylonians to destroy Jerusalem and when they allowed the Romans to destroy Jerusalem. They're a bunch of Satanists. They'll kill their own people, and they'll hide behind their own people, and their own people will defend them because they're that stupid, just like this guy here.
Well, I thought it was funny he called us peasants. Like, it was just a classic line.
Yeah, like, oh, you're so below me, really? You know,
Well,
I want to say something about royalty real quick before, because that woman that was here, she mentioned royalty, and she's talking about the incest. The reason for the incest is because the royalty is passed down by the woman, okay? It's not passed down from the man. It's passed down from the woman. That's why they did the incest. That's why Jesus and Mary Magdalene was high-ranking. Moses and his wife was a Babylonian princess. He was a pharaoh and she was a Babylonian princess. This royal blood stuff, it goes all the way back to the flood and then past the flood. Blood is everything. So trust me, blood is everything. Had to say that.
I am bringing up I am him for the next question. Looks like he's having trouble connecting. Okay. Yeah, I am him if you want to go ahead with your question. Maybe you're not there.
I just want to add something, though. Like, the Jewish religion is like the only religion in the world that, like, you can't even say Jew. You can't even call it. Like, you can't even say it. Like, which is so bizarre. And, look at Germany, like the Holocaust and all that stuff. You can't even have people question anything. It's illegal. They'll arrest you. Like,
no, you say.
I mean,
if you say the word Jew in public, like, you get looked at like you said the N-word. It's crazy.
Well, it's strategically done on purpose. It's on purpose because the Holocaust and everything that happened, and the Operation Paperclip and everything that happened, it was strategically placed where you're getting people in a position where, like, we're the oppressed, where no one can do anything to us. We're the oppressed. No one can talk to us. the wrong way. No one can look at us the wrong way, and that's the problem. Like just like, you know, Isaac, I mean, I grew up as a Catholic myself, but you know what? If you look at my posts all day long, I talk about the Catholic religion, and you know, why is there so much pedophilia in the Catholic religion? But you know what? I'm not a, you know, anti-Catholic or just, you know, or anything like that. But you know, you talk about the first thing you talk about a Jewish thing, people get like irate. You get the Anti-Defamation League. I mean, they're like after us. I checked on their website today to see if I was on there, because there's many people on there from Twitter. But you get a question.
Are we on there?
I don't think I'm on there, but
Well,
there's a bunch of people I know that are on there. But the problem is you have to question just that in itself, like, because I'll tell you, like, I mean, you know, this is a free, you know, we're here to say what we want to talk about. You know, freedom of speech is a real thing, but if you can't even talk about religion when it comes to a Jew, you can't even talk about it to them. Like, you can't even mention it, because the first thing that you do, if you don't know, you know, that their you know, their book or whatever, like, you know, you're instantly you know, a racist, anti-Semite.
You're a peasant, like that guy told us.
Yeah, but you know, like, you know, I'm here, like, I understand. I'll tell you right now, like, you know, from doing this, like, I deal with people that are, I don't even want to say uneducating. It's just unawoke. They're not, they don't understand. So I don't give these wrong things to people. I give the guy credit for coming in here and standing up, and, you know, whatever. It's not his fault, whatever. But the fact of the matter is like, no one hates these people. Like, no one's there to, like, no one wants evil in this world. We have Steve Kelley over here that's saying, like, no, we're not gonna, like, you know, we know that there's pedophilia going on there at the Getty. There's, you know, there's all this crazy stuff. Steve's not saying, like, let's go raid the place, or let's go, like, take these people down. No, we just want the information to get out there, and we want people to hear it, and we want people to raise awareness to what's going on. But, like, I'll tell you right now, like, if I knew my page was gonna create like a hate wave, like, of people, like, where they're gonna be, you know, creating issues around the, you know, I don't know, like, I mean, I wouldn't do what I'm doing. But the issue is we have to understand who we are, like, and what we're fighting. We have Operation Paperclip, and we had the Nazis that were in Germany, and they slaughtered people. And then we had the Bolshevik Revolution. We had the Ukraine famine and the Holodomor. People don't even know what the Holodomor is. They have no idea that there was a Holocaust worse than the Holocaust. But you can't even talk about it. You can't talk about it, because the second you do, it's conspiracy, you know. But it's not, because you can go look in history, and it's not even. I mean, if you're getting like a history book from your school, you're getting the wrong history book. But you don't have to look that far to go type in, you know, what these things were and what was going on. America was eating food from the Ukraine famine. They were selling it to America, you know, and that's what was going on. But everything was strategically done. I mean, look at you have Patton saying, like, you know, we fought the wrong enemy. There's so many different things. And then you have Operation Paperclip, and these almost 2,000 people coming into these. I mean, it's like this. It's like we fought Al Qaeda. All right. Well, are you going to traffic in 1,600 Al Qaeda and put them into high-ranking government positions? Are you going to make Al Qaeda be part of NATO, like the head of NATO, the head of, like, intelligence and, like, you know, communications and whatever? Like, it's absolutely insane what happened with World War II. World War II, for anybody, they're so confused by it, because you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be confused, because you wonder, like, how did Nazis kill all these people? And how did they do it? How did this whole entire thing happen? But the reality is we, all of us, you know, are the people that just accept the history that they want us to learn. That's what they want us to do. But we're in a situation right now where you have to look at who's in control of everything, right? And then you have to wonder and say, well, were these people the oppressed people from the Nazis that they get slaughtered and but how did they just get into the finance thing and communications and the news and media and everything? I mean, the reality is we have to understand this, but it's not like and I want to tell people though, it's not Jewish though. Like it's not. There's Jewish, and then there's the people that pretend to be Jewish, and they're hijacking the religion. In fact, Jewish people should be angry at what they did to their religion because they desecrated their religion. They desecrated the whole religion. I mean, just like what happened with the Catholic religion. The Catholic religion at one point possibly was good, but then you have these secret people that are going in there to destroy it. I mean, I forget the name. Bella, in the 1950s, the girl went in there and she was a communist, and she hired like 1,600 pedophile priests. So like she went in there and was able to like infiltrate the Catholic Church. So every religion, if we're going to fight here on a religion and headbutt each other, we're not going to meet. No one's going to meet halfway because it's an endless battle. But this chat room here today, we're just talking about what's going on. And you know what? There's going to be a bad person, and there's going to be something. But there's mafias, there's religion, and whatever. People run together in groups. That's just how it is. But that's all I wanted to say.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Keck, for that. I am him. Are you there? If you are, fire a question away. If not, I'm going to bring somebody else up.
No questions, guys?
All right. I'm going to bring somebody else up. B-Dub. Let's see what he has to say. All right. B-Dub, go ahead. Hello? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah, you're live, buddy.
Hey, sorry. Right when you made me a speaker, I couldn't hear anybody anymore.
No worries. You're good now. If you got a question for Steven, go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, well, I just am joining the space, and I guess I'm just finding out this is, I guess, primarily a Jewish group. Is that correct?
No, not at all.
Okay. I was just going to say, I'm a Christian. I'm not here really to cause any discourse or anything. I think there are a lot of issues, what Dr. Keck was saying earlier, within all religions. You're going to find
Did you
fault.
have a question?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I had a statement, but I mean, I guess I need to fire a question off more than a...
Well, we're here. We're kind of have a question form here, and we got a little bit off the rails, and we're trying to get it back on the rails here. Is the questions about the Getty is what Steven is an expert on.
Okay, fair enough, man. Well, the Getty is something new to me, so I guess, and my apologies for not doing my research on this.
No worries.
But I'd like to know more about the Getty, what's going on. I mean, I saw, the tunnels, the Jewish tunnels and everything, but what is, kind of the meat and potatoes of what's going on in the Getty currently right now, just to kind of educate me and maybe those who don't know what's going
on. Hey guys, first of all, you guys have got a recording going on here. It looks like we've been doing this for about 3 hours almost, roughly? Kind of, sort of?
Yeah, if not longer.
Yeah, if not a little bit over 3 hours. So as recordings go, I know most people don't have a lot of attention, and they're only going to listen to the first few minutes.
Sure.
But the meat of the meat of your question there, to answer your question, is probably the best thing you do is listen to the recording. If you got make the time to do that, you'll catch up on all the stuff that we already said. We kind of drifted off with this whole Jew thing. That's like, the purpose of this mission isn't to point fingers at one group, but to basically open it up so the truth is, you know, we don't have to point fingers. It's in front of your face. That's really what this is all about. And sure, but I consider myself a Christian, but at the same time, we're humans. Okay, humans comes first. If you're a human, you're a good guy. We don't need to kill you. I'm not about the Rh negative blood or any of that nonsense. If you're not a human, you know, you're a Draco, whatever demon, then you're not going to get the same kind of mercy. But the humans, no, we're not here to kill humans or persecute humans or any of that thing. If anything, we're here to forgive them, but at the same time, we need to stop them from doing what they're doing, and we need to end the criminal activity. Okay, we're not here to cut the heads off the criminals. We're not here to point fingers and say, you're a criminal, because that's your Jew thing. We're here to expose the nest of criminals, not by saying who's there, but by opening it up and showing you what is actually there. And then whatever is there will be exposed, and we can deal with it accordingly. But at the same time, I'm trying to tell everybody, we're not going to kill anybody. We're not going to have a Holocaust. We're not going to cut heads off. We're going to bring these people back into the family, and we're going to put them in FEMA camps and stop them from doing what they're doing. But we're going to rescue the children. We're going to get the technology. We're going to create paradise on earth like we should have, and not this crap that we're living in now. So thank you for that. Is there got to be somebody has a question? I know a lot of people come and go on these spaces, because I know I click on it and nobody wants to listen for 3 hours, but 750 people here. There's probably a few people that have been listening to the whole thing that maybe have a question. Maybe they're just afraid to say something, but maybe they want to know some little detail about something that I was talking about.
We have 5 or 6 people lined up for their requested. Hopefully it's just not, guys, we don't want statements. Everyone wants to make a statement, that's fine, but have a question in there. Go ahead, running drummer.
Thank you, guys. It's been a great night, and I'm really excited to ask this question to Stephen. You were talking about silver earlier, and I was doing a little bit of research on it and found out that they use silver for the cloud seeding. And my question for you, because you talked about the UV light and the work that you were doing with that, do you have any idea if there's a connection with them being in bunkers and tunnels to protect them from what could be cloud seeding of UV light that could actually heal us and bring us up in frequencies with this technology that you talked about having worked with?
Yes. All right. This is a really, really complex question, okay? So I'm going to do my best to remember all the different details and stuff I need to answer. But the first thing I want to say is that your prayer coming out of your head, in your mind, your imagination is scalar. Your brain, each lobe of your brain produces a signal, which is actually a sine wave, which is matched on each side of your brain, but they're orthogonal. They're one's 40 or 90 degrees off from the other. And when these meet together, they produce an interference pattern, which is scalar information. And so when you're praying and you're manifesting and you're healing and you're using your psychic skills and all this, that's what's actually physically happening, is you're creating like this FM signal with your brain, and it's combining in front of your head so far away, you know, that's your whole third eye and all that. And that creates a scalar frequency, and scalar is faster than the speed of light, and it basically alters reality. So by creating a layer of crap over your head, which is basically metallic, and by creating a cell phone layer of electromagnetic net over your head, yes, that is intended to stop energy and information coming down to you and your information going up. Okay, this gets back to this whole, this is a weird part of quantum physics. When you get into quantum physics and you understand the nature of the electromagnetic spectrum, you realize that information goes in one direction and energy goes in the other. Okay, one side is hertz, the other side is nanometers. Nanometers in this case being the energy and hertz being the information. So humans do the same thing. And when you're speaking to source, you know, when you're praying, this is what you're doing. You're sending information and you're receiving energy. And so energy comes from source. And source, of course, is really big at the center of the galaxy. So basically all matter transmits this source signal, which is scalar in nature. So that means all matter. That means everything from the largest galaxy down to the smallest particle. Okay, they're all transmitting source. And this is why a lot of the ancients would worship the sun, because the sun, being massive, the most massive thing close to Earth, emits the most information. Okay, it emits the most energy, but it also emits the most information. So yes, your body and your cells receive this information. The information travels in two directions, and we call this the male and the female direction. This is the yin and the yang. This is the positive and the negative. This is why your DNA has two strands. One side is the male, one side is the female. They're antennas, basically. Everything works in this way. Tantric sex is based on this concept. But anyway, the point is that this is really important stuff, because when you understand it, then you'll understand what they're doing with the COVID, why they're screwing with our DNA, why, you know, I mean, I could go on and on. For instance, one of the main particles that they spray on us from the chemtrails is barium, but not just any barium, it's barium titanate. And barium titanate has a molecular structure, and if you look at it, it's helical. Energy travels in a helix. Okay, that's the curly Q sideburns business. Energy travels in a helix. One helix goes male, one helix goes female. That's your DNA. Anyway, the point is that they use the barium titanate mixed in with all this other nonsense, including the living material like the viruses and the blood product and what have you, and they make this soup that they spray over us. And then when they expose it to a scalar program from a Star Wars device that's putting out scalar, it could be from a plane, could be a ground-based system, but when you combine the crap that they spray on us with that barium titanate, and remember the barium titanate has a helix, so that makes it a perfect synthetic DNA. Okay, so they combine all this crap and they basically zap it with these instructions, because remember, it's all about information and energy. They send out this information, and the energy and the information tells it what to do. And this is where your Morgellons comes from, and this is where these big old clots in your body come from. It's because this shit bonds and creates life forms, which are artificial life forms, which are basically turned on, just like an RFID chip, by the signal in the air. Okay? This is all intended to do this. Okay? Seriously. And I'll tell you something else, and this is really important, because this is what the gist of everything, because I told you this transition is all about service to self and service to others. When you are service to self, you suck in energy, you suck in gravity, you take, you're a taker. When you are service to others, you're a giver. You give your energy. You are like a light bulb putting out energy. You are a giver. You have to be at least over 50% one way or the other to be it. There is no middle on this thing. It's one way or the other. And this is the big question. This is the big thing that we all must do before judgment, is decide. And it's not just decide. It's your actions, the things you do in your life. You need to make sure that half of everything you do is serving other people. And that's how, and once you do that, you give gravity. I call it gravity, but basically it's giving gravity. And this is just physics, okay? But when you give gravity, you essentially create a field around you that's like your aura, only it's very strong and it's defensive, and they can't screw with you. They can't MK Ultra you. They can't give you all kinds of crap. They can't, even if you do consume the shit in the air, the shit in the vaccine, they can't activate it, because you have a shield like a, like a metal, like a foil hat around you. But it's because you're giving out this energy. If you are a person that's a giver, you're going to notice that you attract people that are takers. that's because they are like moths to the light. Takers need the givers. And that's because in this level of reality, this 3D that we're in, it's not a geometric thing. It's you've got the yin and the yang. The yin and yang represents our reality, and basically what that means is that the givers and the takers, they live side by side. The service to self and the service to others live side by side. When we transition and go in the other, one level up, that splits. We leave the service to others are going to move forward, and they're going to leave the others behind. These negative entities that we call demons, or we call, Dracos, Greys, or Anunnaki, those are service to self entities. Those are the bad guys. The good guys, they all look like humans, like Palladians and such. They're what we should strive to be. We should all try to be like Jesus. And I don't care what the Jews say, greed is not a good thing. We should wake up every day trying to figure out how to serve others. And I'll tell you, there could be no better way to serve others than we do this Occupy the Getty thing, and we end all this torture going on to all these innocent children. And not just under the Getty, but all over the world. There's only one way to end it, and this is it. So, Anybody else?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people requested. I don't know
Go for it.
How much
I'm
energy
still
you
awake.
got? All right, you got it. All right, we're gonna
right.
bring Jen up next here. Let's see, Jen, can you hear us?
Hey guys,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So, I don't know if anybody if you're familiar with what what I've been putting out here lately, but I came to this platform 2 years ago to gain a voice, basically, and my intentions were I was going to bring down big pharma. I had big goals, but it's gotten much bigger since then. um, I don't know. Well, I have a question. I don't want to make a statement, but I would like to ask about this law that Biden has put into place. If you're familiar with that, for um, as far as the media is concerned, they've made it's a it looks good all the way to the end where it says in matters of minors or that affect they can't subpoena for your sources like media. Um, if I know something about a child and I have information about that, they can subpoena me. They can basically demand my source, where I got who's my source. And it just killed me all the way to the end. And then it has that about the children. And it's just, it's sad. So I missed most of this because I was busy doing some other things for my family. But um, if you're saying that there are children that need to be liberated from wherever they are they being held for? I mean, God, this sounds so crazy when I hear myself say it out loud. I mean, what is the purpose of them being held? Is it to hold onto a conscious reality and keep it the same as, or keep it the way that if you dictate to them what you want them to think about everything, that's a large portion of people believing one thing, which I believe creates the reality. And children are so susceptible to that kind of thing, the MK Ultra, like you were saying. But I mean, what is their purpose for keeping these children underground, like the hordes of them? Is it for food source? Is it for consciousness or reality, holding that together? What is your opinion on that? What is your belief, should I say?
They're food. Mostly
Just food.
Mostly food, yeah.
That's what
Mostly for food and other things. Mostly for food. Loosh.
Okay.
They're there for a collection of psychic energy, negative psychic energy, and blood products. You see, here's the thing. Okay, all right, here's something important. Let me just go into this really quick. This thing about the densities, I didn't even talk about what that really means. But there's 9 densities. The top density is God, the creator, which is level 9. And that particular level is completely spiritual. There's nothing physical whatsoever. The lowest density is 1, the bottom, and that is a level that is completely physical, and has no spiritual whatsoever. And that would be like rocks, inanimate objects, things that aren't alive. Okay. And number two is the plants and animals. That stuff that's alive just has a spark of life, but doesn't have any self-consciousness. Humans, we have a little more spirituality. We have a concept of God. The level above us is the aliens. They are roughly 50-50 spiritual, 50% spiritual, 50% physical, and they require 50% of their nutrition must be spiritual, and that's where the psychic energy comes in. They actually consume that stuff, and they also consume human blood product. Okay, so yes, that's one of the big. That's why they abduct all the humans, to get that blood product. And thank God, there's a lot fewer of them than there are of us.
Thank
Okay.
God. One more
Well,
quick question, if you don't mind.
wait. Let me just finish this
Oh,
list. Hang on.
oh,
That too.
absolutely. No, I'm
Hang
sorry.
on.
Go ahead.
Don't forget your question. But after the aliens, what comes after the aliens? Heaven. Okay, that would be level number 6. What we consider 6. Yeah. Anyway, no, 5, I guess it is. Level 5 is what we consider heaven. That's where you go when you reincarnate. That's kind of like heaven. It's not limbo. I guess you could call it limbo, but that's what we call heaven. Then above that, level 7, I guess it is the angels. And then above the angels is the ascended masters, which is Jesus and God, Buddha, and everybody that went up that high. And then after that is the Holy Spirit, and then the Creator. Okay, so it's like that's your matrix right there. Okay, go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
I I wake up and I have these bits of clarity, and unfortunately, it goes in the opposite direction. It goes deeper down the rabbit hole. My clarity is more in the rabbit hole than it is out here in the world. But you know, I something that I've been really focused on is that as humans, we have a soul, a divine spark. And what I'm afraid of with all this artificial, all this whatever it is that they're trying to force down our throats, I feel like they're trying to take away. If you
Yes, yes, they are.
if you eat
They
the
are.
foods that are artificial, you become what you eat. You are what you eat. So if we're consuming foods that have the divine spark that aren't genetically modified, we're giving energy back to that spark.
Okay,
We're
it's worse
that
than
divine
that.
spark.
It's worse than that. When you get the injection, and that thing goes in there and actually adds a section of RNA to your DNA. It goes one by one to every cell in your body until every bit of your DNA in your body has been altered, and that is your address of your soul. That's you. That's your blueprint. Your DNA is your blueprint. And when they go in there and every cell gets altered, you're not even you anymore. You're like that woman that was talking about earlier with the mixing up the animals. You're now a chimera. You're not even a human, and your soul gets disconnected. How's God supposed to talk to you when you don't even have the same address because all your cells are not you anymore?
You become something that's artificial, which is when they cut us off from source. That's when they can gain total control, and we are truly enslaved. And I just
Do
it's a
it
scary
willingly.
thought. It's a
Yeah.
scary thought. Thank you so much for your time and all that you put into this, because I know I've gone through a lot just trying to research this stuff. And I mean, so much has happened. So but I mean, it's not an easy road to take. So I commend you all
Can,
for the
can I just
for
say
the
one thing?
efforts.
I know there's a lot of victims out there, okay, because I deal with people who are targeted, and let me tell you, some of the most fervent supporters of my mission are people who have been molested or abused at some time in their life. And so I want to just tell all those people that I completely understand, but at the same time, I want to tell you that as a victim, you're an extremely valuable person to this mission because you have a testimony that needs to go out there. And I know we all want to, get consoled and tell our stories and stuff like that. But what you really need to do is document everything, write down everything that happened to you, put it on paper. Because when you do that, it's like a police report. You're going to have it down. It's not going to be altered. And you know what else is great about writing it all down is that it's a great way to clean your cache, to get it off your hard drive, to get it out of your brain so that you don't have to think about it and you can move on. Trust me. It's like once you get all those words out of your brain, you don't have that stuff bouncing around every day because you want to tell everybody what happened. It's so much easier if you write it down and say, read my book. This is what happened. And that's also the best way that we can all help each other and work together, because it's like my book, you know, it took me 30 days roughly to write that book, you know, 200, whatever, how many pages. But I recommend every one of you have got a story. You just need to write it all down. It's your life. How hard could it be? It's your life. Just write it down. It doesn't have to be over. Just write down what happened so far and be ready to share it, you know, and that way we can help each other out. We can compare notes. Okay?
All right, Jen, thank you. 33 rule, if you want to go ahead.
Yes. First, I'd like to say everybody should be sharing this space out. This is incredible information. And I want to thank you and send you all positive and energy and much love. And I would like to first say that you were accurate. My family are Tatars, and they were cleaning out Europe of all the Jews that wouldn't go along. And there's so much more to this. But what I'd like to ask you is about the Phoenix event that I've been studying for years now. And I believe that they create this because this is the new Atlantis that they're trying to recreate. And everything you said was on point. And so I know that they know about, you know, the astronomy and all of that. So I was wondering if you could speak to the Phoenix event, and how do we stop them? I mean, you know, and yes, I agree with you. The only way is unconditional love. They're our family. They've been out of control, and they've been recreating and resetting. And so I was wondering, you know, 2040, May 16, that's the next reset. And so I was wondering if what we all could do, and I would love to be part of that. And so I'd love to hear your answer. Thank you so much for your presentation tonight.
Thank you. You know, to be honest with you, I know the Phoenix event. That was that's a Jew, not a Jewish, but a Nazi thing. That's kind of like what is it? You know, like kind of like the Georgia Guidestones kind of a thing, I guess. But I just the most important thing I just want to say is that, you know, when you ask me what we can do, you know, when they're supposed to do this and they're supposed to do that, and we're waiting for this thing to happen. People ask me all the time, what's the big thing that we should expect next? What's the big thing? What's going to happen? What are they going to do in Ukraine? What are they going to do in Gaza? Blah, blah, blah. I really don't care. What I want everybody to focus on is what we are doing. Because all of that other stuff, it's like, what's his name said, control the narrative. If we control this narrative, and if we force everybody to focus on this one thing, the sooner we can end it. And when you say, what can I do? Exactly that. I mean, you know, I've been accused of being a maniac, crazy person that only talks about this one thing forever, you know, one hit wonder, whatever. But it doesn't matter, because it's like I told you earlier, the very people under the Getty, and I don't even know if this guy's alive anymore that told me this stuff, but they told me they can't kill me, and they told me that I destroy them, and they told me that they don't know how I do it, and I think I know how I do it. This is how I do it, right here, with you guys, and getting out there and spreading the word. And they expected violence. They expected a Matrix situation, you know. I mean, that's what the Matrix was, you know, that whole shootout to rescue Morpheus. That was trying to enter the Getty, you know. That's what that was. That's art imitates life, okay? Trust me. But they were not expecting us to be peaceful. And I'll tell you, that's like the whole Republican, Democrat, whatever. I need everybody behind me. I need to cast a wide net. I need to build a big tent. I need all humans to unite under this, because it's not just about making America great again. Like I said, there's so much damn money down there, and there's so much incredible technology, the med beds, the whatever, the power to basically make gold out of nothing, the power to fix the radiation, you know, clean the water, clean the air, all that stuff, clean our bodies. They have that, you know, but we need to grow up. We need to mature, and we need to not abuse it. and we'll have paradise real soon if we could all unite behind this one silly thing. And it's like, what more incentive do I need to give you guys to do this besides rescuing the children? But the only way we're going to do it, like I said, is we have to be peaceful and we have to be advanced humans. We have to show the enemy that we are advanced and that we deserve to live and that we have earned our way into the power and that we have earned the right to claim ownership of all that crap they're trying to keep away from us. You know? This is real important that people think like that, because it's not just about punishment and kicking their ass and rescuing those children and blowing everything up. No.